Hello and welcome to part one of Sunlit River. Sunlit River is the big Thompson River going through town along one of our walkways that we have. So today was block-in. And block-in was we covered the whole canvas with paint, and we did it with thin paints. You saw me start out with a lot of dry rubs, and dry rubs means I just didn't have a lot of Gamsol or Terp or whatever your medium is in there. So it kind of went in dry. I finished up the painting with working with the lighter colors, the snow, which isn't just white. It either has a little bit of warm mixture in it or a little bit of cool mixture in it. And I go through those mixtures step by step so you know how I did it. So, all right, thanks for taking on the challenge of Sunlit River. And now, let's get into painting this painting. All right, bye-bye. Hello, and here we are at part one of a three-part series, Sunlit River. This is the big Thompson River coming through Loveland. And this reference is from Lise, my good friend, painting friend, and Lise Gia, and she took this photograph of the big Thompson River somewhere close to town, in town it looks like. We have a good river walk going through there. And what I want to do in part one is get this 9 by 13 canvas blocked in with color. So it's just a great composition because we have this nice dark coming through here. These sky holes with the sky, these blue sky coming through with clouds on top. And I don't think there's a whole lot we need to change or do with this composition other than to place it where it is and go from there. Okay, whoop, I didn't get my gloves on. Let me do that and be a little bit better prepared to paint this painting. Okay, so what I want to do first is just draw some basic shapes and figure out where they're going to be here on the canvas. I can do that with lines or scrub it in with some, some value color. But I think the way I started, it might be easier for you to start, is to figure out where these basic shapes are going to be. Again, if you want to see what I'm painting with on my palette, I have a free video on my website as to what I'm using. I'm going to put this, I think, put back here where the top of the trees are, the bottom of the trees are where the river ends. See, it ends up in here somewhere. And then I have trees going off here. And then I have trees here. And don't be married to this yet. You might have to change it. And I see the river goes out to about here. There's a bank that comes down here. Oh. And the river comes to about here. And just trying to get some lines here as to where things should be. I think this goes a little lower. And I think this goes a little lower here. Then there's another dark of a bank right up in here. Okay, I'm using blue and brown, transparent oxide brown. And what else can I say here? I think there's bushes everywhere here. And then there's a bank here that seems to go this way. There's a little bit of a bank. Sorry for my husky voice this morning. I lost my voice over the weekend, and It's gradually coming back. And I'm going to get an idea of where this dark's going to be right here with the water. Well, let me get back and see how that looks. I'm going to do a very light mixture now. I just added a bunch of white to this and tried to figure out up in here there's some open sky holes up in here. But let me go back now and I'm going to add some yellow ochre to this mixture and Hansa yellow, I think, to this mixture. Yellow ochre and Hansa yellow. Hansa yellow deep. And let me see if we can just get some idea of where these I'm going to add a little bit more brown to this mixture now. Oh, I made it a little too brown. I'm going to lighten it up just a scooch. And I'm going to bring these down. Get a little bit more brown in there. And as you can see, there's not much turf or Gamsol in this mixture. Some of these come up really high, and some don't. And these actually come down. All right, let's keep getting back and looking at this thing. And let's smooth this out a little bit with a rag. Here's what I mean. You just fill it in. I'm sorry, I threw my shoulder in there. See, I can just run this into my value here, color, and just kind of fill that in pretty good. Then I'm going to come down here and fill this in a little bit also. Now, the nice thing about all these thin, scratchy colors is I'm going to make some more of the same mixture, yellow ochre, Hansa yellow deep, and I'm going to put some of that above the dark, kind of coming right out of the dark, in fact. I also need, in the foreground here, there's these grasses coming through, so I'm going to go back to yellow ochre, Hansa yellow. I'm going to add just a touch of brown to it, and I'm going to put some, again, it's kind of dry. I don't have any Gamsol in it right now. And I'm putting little specks of yellow in here. Grasses. And it just gives a little bit of a story of, see how it leads in here, see this, these grasses leading into the dark. Kind of a compositional thing, I guess. All right. That is good so far. And now we're going to get into the sky and make the sky color. Then we'll come back into the trees. I think, checking my time, my monitor's down this morning. I couldn't find the image for that computer, so I'm working off a different computer. That's why I'm looking over here a lot. Computer screens, painting from that. All right, so I want to make a mixture, so it's going to be kind of a gray blue. And it's going to be very pale. And I don't know how, but look, I got all this Hansa yellow on my glove. I don't know how I get so messy so early. I guess it's because my time is kind of compressed here. As you notice, I don't do any breaks. I really kind of show you in real time how I get this done. So I'm always concentrating on what the next step is or what I'm doing at that present time. So I'm mixing up some slop white. This is white that was left over from last week's paintings. And I'm going to add a little bit of cobalt, just a little bit, and just a touch of cold gray. And again, it's kind of dry. I'm going to go to a bigger brush. And it looks like it's a number 4 filbert. This is an off-brand Pro Stroke. And just enough to kind of say where the blue sky is going to be and where the clouds are going to be. I'm going to add just a little bit of Gamsol to this to get some spread on it. I'm going to need a lot more white. A little bit of cobalt, a little touch of cold gray by Remington, and just a touch of Gamsol, not a whole lot. The reason I'm using a little bit of Gamsol is to get some spread on it, and I'm not going to be working over the top of it in this section. And trying to make it as even as possible. And I might have a stroke of gray coming down through there. All right, I'm cleaning this brush, Gamsol, and then the rag. And I'm going to do the blue sky next with cobalt and white. I'm going to use a pure, cleaner white, and I'm going to clean my palette nicely. Let me get some white, cobalt. Too much cobalt. There we go. I'm going to add some Viridian to it. It's too dark. Come on. Here we go. Now she's coming up to the right value. Might still be too dark. There we go. And I'm going to clean my knife appropriately and get a pale blue color in here. I picked up some contamination right there, and I went right back into my mixture and got a lot of product on there so that this is pretty pale and blue. And I might have to get some more phthalo on it maybe tomorrow when I work on this painting in part 2. I usually do a painting a la prima, which is I work wet on wet till it's done. But in this age of computers and putting this up on Uscreen and up on my new website that I'm building called Podia, I break these into 30-minute sessions, and then I upload them and, edit them and all that kind of stuff. All right, so now we need to get back into the trees, and what I see is warms and cools in those trees. And I want to make that mixture next. So I'm going to make a blue and a viridian and some slop white and a touch of brown. Excuse my voice. I'm going to need a lot more of this product. Jeez, what am I thinking? So blue, touch of viridian, touch of brown, more brown, and some slop white. What I mean by slop white, again, is just contaminated white. More brown, touch of gray. And I think I'm about there. It's kind of a muted color. And I'm going to put it on more in a drier fashion without any Gamsol in it. So I'm going to go back to that scrub brush I had, the drawing brush, and I'm going to be putting some of this in. These are kind of like base colors. And working on some of the canopy stuff in here too. And I'll put some back in here. I missed a chance for a good sky hole. Let me see if I can get it in here. Right up there, there's a sky hole. I still have some sky color mixed in. And I'll plop some of that in various places. And over in here too. Might be too early to do that, but I did it anyway. I want to go back to yellow ochres. I'm going to add some orange this time. Orange, yellow ochre, and some slop white. Come on, lighten that up. All right, I'm going to go in here and get some of these warmer colors that are talking to me. And along in here. Again, this is pretty dry stuff I'm putting on, and putting it on rather thinly too. I'm going to go back to dark, which is going to be blue, viridian, brown, slop white, or brown. And I'm going to go in the bases of some of this area up in here and get some darker darks. And I'm putting that in because I'm looking at the reference and seeing some of these darker darks through here. These are subtle and dark. This goes like this. Okay. And I'll put some at the base of the trees in the back. Okay. Now you see I haven't put any white in here, and that's going to be our homework, and I'll show you how we're going to do that in just a few minutes because we got plenty of time till we get there. So, for now, let's see, what do we have here? Viridians, okay. Let's get a cobalt and a viridian and some sky color and make that, oh, kind of an exotic color, bluey color, which is a reflection of the sky right in this area. And then let's make a good dark. So we're going to use some yellow ochre, ultra, brown, blue again. And we're going to work on these colors right in here. Okay, so far so good. I have to soften these edges here a little bit, so I'm going to go back to that blue and add some, the lighter stuff I have here, and put it on either edge of this deal. And I'll get some really, really light stuff in the center and re-emphasize that right up in here somewhere. I think I need a better color than what I have in there now, but that's, I think, good now. It's a good base. Okay. Let's go back to some of these edges that are kind of hard here. So I'm going to go back with my knife and soften these dark edges so they're just not so blunt as they go up. See? And I'll do some of that in the water too. Oh, that's working out nicely. Okay. And I'll do some transitioning into the darks here. That's a little too strong. And just softening the edges in various places. Let's go back where I've lost some of my warms, and because I've got some warm left right here, and I'm going to work on some of the canopies I may have lost. There's a big canopy here I think I need to bring up, and then some really big ones over here. Kind of balancing out the painting here a little bit. And I'm going to lighten up these guys in the back. All right. So what I'm going to start doing, because I have a little bit of time, but not enough to finish, I think, is the snow. Let me move these various mixtures I have off to the side, just in case I need them, and move into the next phase, which is snow. Now the actual time that I'm doing this, I think, is mid-January, and that's today's date. I think is the 16th or 17th. 16th, I think. And yeah, it's definitely winter here in Colorado, but it's a beautifully sunny day. We still have snow on the ground, but it's very similar to what we are looking at from this reference, which I think was taken last year at this time by Leith. Okay, with that, let's make a clean mixture. So here's my clean white. Okay, and now I want to go into just a touch of warm. So I'm going to get some Hansa yellow and mix that in there. I mean, you can barely see it. And you can easily overdo it with Hansa, so be careful. When I say a little bit, look, it's just a little dab will do you, and that may have been too much. And it just warms up your snow just a smidge. But if it warms it up too much, it looks fake. Okay, so I've got some here on my palette knife, so I'm going to use it in my sky in various places because it's so useful to have this stuff on the bottom of your knife. And I think I need to just lighten this general area up into here. Okay, now let's get down to the snow. I'm going to use a softer brush. This is a Rosemary number 2 long flat. I'm going to add just a little bit of turp, and we're going to really work this stuff in now. It's easy to contaminate it, your brush, so try to stay out of the bad neighborhoods. And if you do get too much contamination in your brush, just go back in, because basically we have a warm color in here in the mixture of the white. So if you just gob up your brush again, you'll be right back to where you want to be. I think some of these are a little cooler down in there. We'll do warmer here, putting some of the whites up in here. But I'm mostly working right in the foreground, and I'll get some over in this area along the edge of the river. Now, I'm drying my brush now, and I'm going to smudge the edges with the white. And I'm loosening the edges. So they're just not standing out so much. They're just softer. And we can put harder edges in there tomorrow or the next day if we need to do that. Now I'm going to add a touch of cobalt to the mixture. And I'm going to put the cobalt white down in here. That says a little bit more I'm in shadow and not getting as much sun as this foreground area. And I'm softening some of the edges in here. And I'll add some of this stuff back in here. Now I have a jetty that comes out here. Let me see if I can do some justice to that and bring it around here. And I think for the very end of this, I'm going to put a knife. See this sharp little edge right along in here? I think that's going to be a knife work. So I just added just a little bit of this white on my knife, and I'm going to put that right in there. And then I need some yellow above it. So now I'm getting some of that slop pile I had left over. And I'm going to put that in right in here. Oh, that's nice. I think, oh, I better not get rid of that knife yet. I need to put some of that right back in here. Also. Oh, that's pretty. Knives come in handy, don't they? How's my time? I'm out of time. So, I have a minute to admire this with you. I think that's a great start. It's kind of ethereal, it's soft, and yet I think pretty much things look like they're in the right place. I'm working on a 9x13. And so I kind of had to play around with this a little bit to elongate it a little, but I don't think I did much. Pretty much that reference is right on. Now, tomorrow we have a lot of balance to do, and we will get to that. All right, I'm getting rid of some of my heavy splotches that I may have, and this is one right here that needs a little attention. That is not. There we go. Let's see if I can get some dark underneath it. Right there, I've got some dark underneath, right up in here. It's working, that's okay. All right, that's it. So I think for homework, just get in here with your whites, soften your bushes here, your grasses, and don't make things so blunt. Soften those edges. Okay, that's enough for now. Thanks for coming by for part 1 of this series. This is going to be a fun reference. All right, with that, I'll see you in part 2. Bye-bye.